and welcome to Cupcake Addiction's Panda Bear Cupcake tutorial, where I'll be showing you how to make this gorgeous little Panda Bear cupcake. Tools and equipment that we will be using today, I'm using a little bit of chocolate cookie icing. Now, cookie icing is quite widely available in the US and only really available in specialty stores here in Australia. So if you cannot get your hands on it, you can also use just melted dark chocolate in a Ziploc bag with a tiny little cut on the end of it to make the same details that we're making today. I'm using some desiccated coconut today. You can use desiccated coconut, but if you don't like the taste, you can use some grated white chocolate, any white sprinkles, or a white sanding sugar. I've got some of our perfectly pipeable buttercream frosting. I will leave a link to the recipe for that in the description box below. I've got my cupcake ready to ice. I've got some of the little Wilton eyes. Now, Wilton actually sells like little containers of eyes now. I always have a container on hand because they make life so much easier. But if you can't find them where you are, pop a little blob of white melted chocolate onto a sheet of baking paper and then a little blob of that dark chocolate just to make the eyeball, and you can make those a fair way in advance. I've got some chocolate chips and I've got some mini Oreo cookies. The mini Oreo cookies I've actually split in half and I've scraped the inside Oreo frosting off, or the Oreo cream off, as best as I can. I've also got 2 knives. So let's get started. First thing that I'm going to show you how to do is, for example, with this Oreo frosting, you split the Oreo in half and it's still got a little bit of that frosting. You can scrape it off, but you'll still have a little bit of that excess there. So just using your knife, just sort of dig at it a little bit and then just rub your finger along it just until it's nice and clean, because we want the flat side to be what we're using for most of our detailing today. So as I said, I've got mine pre-done there. Your little chocolate chips, you're just going to take one of those and cut it in half. Make sure you've got a couple of those spare. You're going to need 1 chocolate chip for each 2 pandas. It's just going to make the little nose. Make sure you've got a couple of spares just in case it doesn't cut quite the way you're hoping it does on the first try. So you want to take 2 of those Oreos and that cookie icing, or the melted dark chocolate, depending on what you're using, and just place a little blob of that cookie icing. We might put it on the back of the eye. It will be a little bit easier to see. It's just a little blob on the back of the eye. Now, the great thing about cookie icing, it's basically a royal icing, so it goes on soft and it sets really quite hard. So it kind of acts like a little bit of a glue for us, as does melted dark chocolate. Once again, little blob on the back. Don't put too much. You don't want it to take too long to set. You'll notice here that I've positioned the eyeballs right off to one side because we do want the panda to have nice, big, black under eyes. Taking your other 2, they just had the frosting scraped off them. They're ready to go. This is a really, really simple cupcake. You don't need any real fancy tools or equipment. So you're going to use the back of your knife now and just scrape into your buttercream frosting, or whichever frosting you're using. And I'm just going to spoon it on top, or knife it on top. You can see there, I'm pushing it down to the cupcake liner, but I'm trying not to go over the outsides because I don't want to make a mess. So you do want to put a fair bit of that frosting on, and I'm just going to work it back and forward with my knife so that it's a nice little mound. You can see there. Now, I want to mention here, you can pre-make all of these decorations in advance. You can make all of these little bits and pieces and store them in an airtight container. If you're going to use sprinkles or grated white chocolate, then yep, you can do the cupcakes the day before you want to use them. But if you're going to use coconut, coconut will actually start to absorb the colour of the butter from a buttercream frosting after about 24 hours. So you want to make all of your little bits and pieces beforehand, and then about an hour or 2 before you want to serve them, put the final touches on them, or the morning of the party, just so that you don't end up with yellow-faced pandas. So taking your cupcake, you just want to dip it into that coconut there, or the sprinkles, whatever you're using, and you'll see I'm just rotating it around. Now, it comes up with a bit of a pointed top, so you just want to use your palm of your hand and just pat it around. I actually like to just sort of pat the top of it quite severely so that we've got a nice flat top going on. And there you've got the basis for our panda's face. All right, now we want to put our ears in. So make sure that it's facing you, your panda's facing you, and with your ears, you want to make sure that they're quite spaced apart. You don't want them both up top. You don't want them to look like a mouse or a bunny rabbit or anything. So pop one ear in and the other ear in. You'll see there you've got your 2 little panda ears. Now taking your eyes. Now you want the eyes to be sort of positioned in the middle, looking straight ahead, but you want those round sections to be almost tilting out a little bit. So they're sort of underneath the eye and just tilting out on each side. All right, so there's our panda ice. And then take one of your little half morsels or half chocolate chips, and you want to position it flat side up and the round side down and push it in. If you love this tutorial, make sure that you head on over to our channel My Cupcake Addiction and hit the subscribe button. We've got lots of great cupcake and cake pop tutorials as well as heaps of good decorating hints and tips. We'd love to have you drop by. So now I'm going to take that cookie icing again, and as I mentioned, you can also use a Ziploc bag with a very fine point cut off the end with some melted dark chocolate, and we're just going to make the mouth shape. So I'm really just squeezing. I'm going to go down in one little kind of a backwards J. And come around the other side and just finish that mouth off. There you've got your gorgeous, and I think you'll agree, really, really easy little panda cupcakes. I hope that you love making them as much as I've loved sharing them with you today. Thanks very much for watching.